everybody, it's Spicey Kai. Today's video dives into California's SB223, which allows medical marijuana in the state's K-12 schools. Also, even though the DEA approved a CBD product for treating epilepsy in children, many doctors won't prescribe it and schools won't allow it to be administered, leading to dire consequences for some families. Check it out. But before we get started, please go ahead and thumbs up the video and make sure you share it so we can get the word out about how CBD can help children with epilepsy and seizures. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to press that subscribe button and go ahead and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video about that Cali life. Now, let's get to the content.
This isn't a done deal, though it has passed its first legislative hurdle. If approved, it would allow parents to pull their children out of a classroom to administer medical marijuana on a K-12 campus. SB223 was just approved by the California Assembly yesterday, but this would give the final decision-making power to local school boards. If school board members did not like the idea, the whole issue would die at the local level. Now, we're not talking about smoking marijuana on school grounds. The current proposal only allows for non-smokable cannabis, typically given to children as a capsule or as topical oils and creams. Current law prevents marijuana within 1,000 feet of a school campus, which means students who need to use medical marijuana to treat something like a seizure need to go off campus. According to the author of the bill, this would help students with severe medical disabilities attend school.
I ask that we allow school districts to make this decision themselves and also acknowledge that students for different reasons have medical conditions that this can aid.
Let's get to another big story today. The first cannabis-based drug getting the green light from an FDA advisory committee, and this could be groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's a very new idea. This is a compound derived from the cannabis plant, though it's not the compound we've all heard of. This one is called CBD, and it doesn't produce the high associated with THC. The drug maker is GW Pharmaceuticals, and its medicine is called Epidiolex. It's designed to treat seizures caused by rare childhood epilepsies called Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. An outside panel of advisors to the FDA met this morning to discuss the risk-benefit profile of the medicine, and the outcome was overwhelmingly positive. A unanimous vote of 13-0 that yes, the medicine has a favorable profile for treatment of these conditions. Now, the FDA is set to decide by June 27th about whether to approve Epidiolex, and a reviewer told patients at the advisory committee meeting today the agency is working hard to accelerate the review. And of course, this would be the first cannabis-derived drug approved in the U.S.
Ohio's medical marijuana, it's raising new questions for school districts across the state. In fact, districts will not allow those products on school grounds.
And Only News 5's Kevin Barry found that it even includes one epilepsy drug approved by the FDA.
A finger wag and a stern look is all Paige Frey is able to communicate to a dog that just won't stop licking everything in sight. Paige uses this iPad to communicate because she's not able to talk after years of seizures related to her Dravet syndrome. For about 2.5 months, Paige has been on Epidiolex, the first FDA-approved drug that has purified marijuana in it. Approving Epidiolex was a big step for the FDA, and it's cut Paige's seizures down dramatically and helped her sleep a little more, which is a big step for Paige's mom, Christina.
When she first started taking the medicine, we actually saw some progress in that area too. So that's actually very huge. That's high on my list in regards to things I'm trying to accomplish.
A few cities away, Christian is seeing similar improvements with his daughter, Lola, who also has Dravet syndrome.
Her brain doesn't short circuit, which is pretty much what a seizure is.
The only difference between the two is if Paige or Lola will be able to take Epidiolex at school. Lola's family says they haven't encountered any issues regarding the drug so far, but Paige is at Riverside Local School District. Christina says Paige takes Epidiolex before and after school, but if her needs change, she might need to take a dose during the day. So far, Christina says she's been told that won't be allowed.
Epidiolex is approved through the FDA there is still, issues with the school system essentially allowing it to be administered during school hours or even on their property for that matter.
School psychologist Dr. Eric Merkel says most districts treat FDA-approved drugs the same way they would other powerful medications that they give to students all the time. He says some schools might not even know Epidiolex has parts of a marijuana plant in it.
That would be regarded by most school districts consistent with their dispensing and medical practices.
But he says in districts that are pushing back against drugs like Epidiolex, the FDA-approved drug might be getting mixed up in the greater conversation about the type of medical marijuana sold at dispensaries. So far, those products are still illegal under federal law and not allowed in any school.
Medical marijuana really is a different adaptation of recreative marijuana, and medical marijuana is still considered a Schedule I component.
Meanwhile, Epidiolex is legal and is prescribed by a doctor. It's frustrating for Christina, but they've overcome years of challenges caring for Paige already.
It's sad, but I want to say that we're used to it in a sense, just because of the battles that we've had just in general.
In Cleveland, I'm Kevin Barry, News 5.
Marijuana in our schools is a disturbing idea to most people, but for a 5-year-old girl and her parents in Santa Rosa, California, it's a welcomed relief. John Blackstone reports on how it's making it possible for one kindergartner to stay in school and perform at her best.
At the Village School in Santa Rosa, California, 5-year-old Brooke Adams is thriving in kindergarten. That's a huge breakthrough, says her mother, Jana Adams.
She's playing, she's learning, she counts to 20, she knows her colors, she knows her letters.
Brooke's success comes in spite of a debilitating medical condition, Dravet syndrome, a form of epilepsy that causes violent seizures that her family once recorded on video.
Her seizures would be lasting hours. And even in the hospital, trying to get them to stop was very hard.
No medication worked until they tried an oil derived from marijuana.
We started to explore THC, which is the psychoactive part of marijuana. But that is actually what her body needs to stop the seizures.
But when it came time for Brooke to go to kindergarten, the school district put up a roadblock.
Our concerns really were more from both state and federal government levels. Were we breaking any laws in having her medication on campus?
Cannabis that she takes is an oil tincture. It's just a few drops that we put in her mouth and it absorbs.
While California is one of 31 states that has legalized marijuana, it is not one of the 3 states to specifically allow medical use of marijuana on a school campus. Attorney Joe Rogaway, who specializes in marijuana law, represented Brooke's family in a lawsuit challenging the school's ban on her medication.
If the judge didn't rule in our favor, we could have had to pull her out of school.
The school district was caught between one federal law that says all marijuana is illegal and another federal law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
And federal law prioritizes children with disabilities and ensuring that they're able to have access to education more so than other things that the district was holding on to.
Austin would have dozens to hundreds of seizures every single day. None of the prescriptions would work. One pill almost killed our son.
I've had 3 back surgeries, and I was on opioids for 15 years. It was a very dark, very depressive time in my life.
After my injury, I felt like I couldn't live with the pain, but I couldn't live with this treatment long term. It was unbearable.
I don't have to live like that anymore. Medical cannabis saved Austin's life.
Cannabis has given me my life back.
There are families in other states having to watch their children die.
I want to see my brothers and sisters who sacrificed so much for this country have access to the safest treatment possible. This really is an injustice.
It's not just unfair, it's cruel.
Cali some CBD drinks, and then she loves them.
These days, you would never know 7-year-old Jamison Wetzel ever suffered from seizures.
I feel a lot better. I feel calm. I don't feel any pain.
He's just like any other kid who likes to play sports or have fun with his dog. But after his first birthday, his future was unclear when doctors diagnosed him with a rare seizure disorder.
He was definitely going to die. There was no doubt about it at that point. I mean, the neurology unit at Frederick said there was nothing else we can do.
His dad, Matt, wasn't going to take that for an answer, and instead decided to move his family to Colorado to get his son CBD oil, a non-psychoactive component of the cannabis or hemp plant. He heard about it helping kids like Jamison, but there was a problem. It wasn't legal in Wisconsin.
We took the chance, and it was actually one of the best days of our lives.
Within a few days of taking the oil, he was seizure-free, and he hasn't had one since. Now CBD oil for marijuana is legal here in the state with a prescription. But soon there could be access to all forms of marijuana for those with certain medical conditions, something Matt wishes happened a long time ago.
We could have came home and had the support of our family. We could have came home and not had to worry about, well, if he has a seizure, how are we going to get the medication?
Now he's hopeful that day will come soon.
Colorado absolutely is saving my daughter's life. She has been able to stop seizure activity in under 3 minutes. That was unheard of in Kansas. She is having less side effects from pharmaceuticals. Her health overall is better. She's receiving help here that she never could. And I thank Colorado for opening their arms to us. She had seizures on average 4 to 6 times a month. She has a long history of prolonged seizures. Once her seizures start, they are very difficult to stop. She often requires multiple doses of rescue medications that cause her to go into respiratory and cardiac arrest. She was on a regular basis intubated and admitted into ICU. After 6 years, I couldn't justify making her wait any longer. So my husband and I decided to do whatever it took to get her out here. She was able to get her cannabis card within the first couple of weeks of us moving here. She's been on cannabis for almost 6 months now. Cognitively, she's more aware. She's considered nonverbal. Since she's been on cannabis, her language has just steadily improved. Now that we're getting the pharmaceuticals lowered, we're seeing less of the side effects and more of Autumn. Her personality is really coming out. She's actually a very funny kid. She has a great sense of humor and loves music. Do whatever you can to get out. This journey is not for the weak. It is very difficult to survive out here.
can help so much that to just sit and keep our story to ourselves is for me, it's not an option, because there are other kids out there that need it, not just Charlie. Once she had the first one, they just kind of kept coming and kept coming. Sent her to school, no problems. Picked her up from school, gave it to her, no problems. We gave it to her every single day. She started kind of having a few small breakthrough seizures, but they weren't as intense as the ones prior to giving her the THC. We get a call from the neurologist on February 5th. Somebody had dropped the ball in their office and they still needed a signature from us. So the prescription hadn't even left their office at that point. It still needed to be sent to Epidiolex, who would figure out the dosing, and then Epidiolex would send it to the specialty pharmacy. And, you know, just, it was frustrating because we're like, okay, we're still at square one. You know, we went to the doctor 5 days ago and, you know, things should have been sent already. Nothing had been sent. So we're like, okay, we've still got a couple weeks. What are we going to do? Normally when I would open the door, Charlie would she'd kind of pop up and say, hi, or morning, you know, or there would be some kind of movement. And she did move, and I thought, wow, you know, she's still sleeping. I'm gonna have to wake this kid up. So she sleeps in a Noah bed that zips shut for her safety, because if she doesn't have that, she's my wanderer. She'll go right out the front door and leave. And so I walked in and, you know, unzipped that, threw the net up. She was laying face down in her bed with her hands, you know, on her forehead, which again was a normal sleeping position for her. And I put my hand on her back, kind of gave her a little shake, and she didn't move. I was like, what the hell? So I said her name a little louder, and I shook her a little harder, and still nothing. And I ran my hand down, and I felt her leg, and her leg was just ice cold. So I immediately, you know, kind of freaked, and I grabbed her, and I flipped her. And as soon as I flipped her over, I could see that her eyes were partly open, her lips were purple, her fingernails, the beds of her nails were already purple. So I screamed for the kids to call 911, and I dove into the bed and I grabbed her. They searched my house for 3 hours, wouldn't let us inside. They took everything out of Charlie's bed. You know, I mean, we were treated like criminals, and it was because I was giving her THC. But I was giving that to her to try to help her because we weren't getting the help that we needed fast enough. At this point for us, yeah, we're not going to get our daughter back. You know, you can't. And we have two choices. We can either just say, okay, she's gone, move on with our lives, keep our business to ourselves. You know, not risk judgment and things like that from people. Or we can do what we decided to do and talk to people. Tell them what happened with her. Tell them how good things could have been. You know, if I would have gave her more, she'd probably still be here.